I don't know what happened there, but I made it stop.
Okay.
Oh, good morning, everyone. It's Fun Friday. Just let me... Nick, see, this is precisely why you and I are eating hot chips soon.
Yeah.
Because you can't get it together.
Clearly.
And you got the
That's right, guys.
the most oh, hey, David.
Hello, Doug. Have you found any hot chips on the internet? Has anyone sent you any hot chips? We need the Dougaholics army out in full force, searching the streets, wherever you live. Send them in. We need hot chips.
What we need is money. Those chips are expensive.
Those things are better than money, Doug.
$60 per chip, Nick. It's supply and demand. The company that makes the chip for the one chip challenge, by the way, if you have no idea what we're talking about, we did our draft.com challenge this week. David won, and the stakes were the two losers had to take the one chip challenge. This hotter than hell chip that all these celebrities, you see it on all the sports shows. So we wanted to get into the action. Except I forgot to research how expensive this chip was. And it ends up being $60 because of supply and demand. The company that made the chip is sold out of the chip. And if you want one, you got to go to the secondary market, the hot chip black market, where it's $60 a chip. Gratuitous.
Can I just say, I'm a bit surprised. This was a bit off-brand for you, Doug. Normally, I would expect to have heard some sort of complaint or, some sort of aggravated argument against the hot chip challenge. But maybe, is this the sign of a new Doug?
No, it's not. No, it's not a sign of a new Doug. What it is I enjoy. I thought I was going to win. That's what that's the thing. I thought I had it in the bag. I had the first pick. I got Giannis. I thought I had it in the bag, and I just wanted to see you two gentlemen suffer. That's not off-brand for Doug at all. And now you've made me refer to myself in the third person.
That is off-brand. So now we're back to the new Doug. Which one is it?
I'm gonna start the show.
I just want to say I never agreed to any of this.
That's technically true.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
Nick, just because you didn't agree to something doesn't mean that you don't have to partake. I didn't agree for the president to be Donald Trump, but here we are. That's what it is. What it is. We all have to take our hot chip every once in a while. This is Locked On Hornets. Welcome in. I'm Doug Branson. I'm joined by the panel here on a fun Friday.
These everywhere!
Oh, from the mean streets of Cotswold, his beautiful picture on the screen right now here on youtube.com/Locked On Hornets, the man, the myth, the legend, David Walker.
That's right. Sometimes I just want to show you guys a picture of my smiling face. I just wanted to keep the smile up there the whole time to remind you of that big win I had in the chip challenge, Doug. I know you'd never forget, but I just wanted you to remember.
Hashtag never forget. Okay, from the capital city, Nick Denning, the mug.
I woke up like 10 minutes ago and I said, what? I want to come on the podcast. So here I am.
Wow, that's
all right.
It's dedication from the panel. We've also, Steve Bob's going to show up eventually. Steve Bob has turned into a total diva. He does one segment that becomes a hit on this show, the Steve Bob eBay. Steve Bob. And that's it. He's turned into a diva. He gets his own
now he's
drop.
Got a rider. He needs only red Skittles.
Right.
He needs LaCroix cool to 45 degrees.
Absurd. Hey, I want to quickly mention this. A lot of you have been asking us when we're going to get some more T-shirts in. We did one last year. We've got plenty of T-shirts on tpublic.com. We've partnered up with tpublic.com for some awesome shirts. You can get mugs and other merchandise. We've got a Kimba shirt up there. We've got a Malik Monk shirt. We've got Buzzamania T-shirts. So if you're a Buzzamaniac, if you're part of the nest, if you're on with us on patreon.com/LOH, check out tpublic.com. Great way to show your support both publicly and financially for this show. Every dollar goes to helping make this show better and better as we move through this season. I want to say hi to some people in the nest right now on the live chat on youtube.com/Locked On Hornets. We got Daniel in for a fun Friday. He says, I've had my coffee. I'm feeling like Eric Collins after a Troy Daniels buzzer beater this morning. Hey, Troy Daniels had 23 points last night for the Phoenix Suns. Unfortunately, the Houston Rockets had about 1,000 points, so it didn't help.
Is that all the points they scored? Because it was.
No, Phoenix scored. I think they scored like 114. It was just the problem was Houston scored 145, 90 points, 90 plus points. I think in the first half
like 95.
for the Houston Rockets.
You know, I have a theory. You're going to win a few games if you score 95. If you score almost 100 in the first half, we should try and do that. The Hornets. I don't know what the issue is.
First half pizza. Okay, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Search your podcast app for Locked On to get podcasts on the NBA, the NFL, and fantasy sports. We've got a big show. We're going to talk about what we learned this week. Also got a preview of tonight's game against Chicago, plus Steve Bob, whenever he shows up, whenever he decides to grace us with his presence, has a very interesting piece of Hornets history, of Hornets memorabilia in a segment we're calling That Belongs in a Museum.
That belongs in a museum.
Right. So he'll be on with that later. Okay. It's Friday. We got time to kind of step back, look at the week that was, gentlemen. So we're going to do a segment called What Did We Learn This Week? It could be about the Hornets. It could be about the NBA. It could be about life in general. David, since your face is on the screen, would you like to kick us off?
Perfect timing, guys. This has nothing to do with the Hornets. Actually, it does have a little bit to do with the Hornets. The other night, the Hornets, as we know, were on ESPN, which is a national network. That was a national game, right, Doug? I just want to clarify. ESPN, that was a national game, right?
That was. I double-checked.
Okay. So I utilized the ESPN app, guys. I don't know if you're familiar with this. The ESPN app now allows you to multicast games. Multicast is the millennial term for picture-in-picture. Multicast, I should have said multicast. So what I did was I had the Hornets on, filling the screen, and then I like to keep my eye on the Carolina Tar Heels as they sometimes play at the exact same time as the Hornets, which is always fun. So I put them up in the little picture-in-picture, no sound, but just up in the corner there, and it worked remarkably well. Have either of you ever experienced this multicast?
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, it is amazing. Have you guys used this feature? Are you familiar with it?
Never. But it sounds amazing. It is
amazing.
That's great. I like it.
And
I like ESPN. I like anything that isn't my cable subscription. I keep my cable subscription solely for Hornets away games, and I hate everything about my cable box. I despise my cable box.
I'm telling you, man, I cut the cord. This is part of the cord cutting experience.
Everything is too far behind. League Pass is like 17 minutes behind.
Live in the now, Doug.
Fox Sports Go is a couple of minutes behind. I can't. I gotta be instant. Everything is instant.
Oh
Everything
my
is
God.
Twitter.
You and you're all instant plugged in. That's very off brand for you. I'm shocked.
I'm telling you, you know what's off brand for me right now is you telling me what's my brand. That's what's off brand for me. Nick, what did you learn this week? About the Hornets, about anything.
Yeah, I feel like I learned that there's people are gonna. I should have known this already, but I just feel like there's no matter what, like the Hornets are not playing well right now, and it just seems like every time there's one bad stretch of play, I discover that every single bad take that I thought was gone just decides to crawl back up from the earth and make its presence known.
Well, sure. It's like an immune system. When the immune system is low, the viruses start to pop back up again. The bacteria starts to reign. Yeah, whenever you have some slippage in the performance of the team, you've got these bad takes. For example, what are some that you're seeing?
Well, it ranges just from discussion about, player personnel. Like I saw one thing where some guy was like, Cody Zeller isn't worth his contract. Like, I saw things from the pinstripes, issues with the pinstripes. Like, guys.
Oh my God.
Everyone settle down.
Like
the 5 again, what? Because I think, when you go on a 5-game losing streak, you dig for things to complain about because you've already complained enough about the performance on the court. So people go looking for something. I learned never to bet on something until you find out how much it's going to cost you. That's number one. I figured that out. Cole on the chat says, I learned that Kemba has a more difficult time creating out of a Dwight Howard pick and roll than he ever did with a Zeller pick and roll. You know what? I think Cole makes a good point, but I think it's early. I think we saw this with Nick Batum at the end of that last game as well, where you're seeing them still trying to figure out, because Zeller and Howard roll to the basket differently. Yeah. Zeller is a hard cutter. He goes fast to the rim, whereas Howard likes to sort of slow play it a little bit and then seal his man off and work his way down to the rim. It's a more patient play. And that's all timing. And I think, yes, it's a valid point, but I think we're still early in the season. I think it still has time to the relationship between Kemba Walker and Dwight Howard on the pick and roll, and the relationship with Batum and Howard on the pick and roll is going to continue to develop.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there's something rustling behind the curtain. Okay, make your way in, sir. You diva. Steve Bob in the studio.
You guys done practicing yet?
Yeah, no, we're on the air, buddy.
Oh, shoot.
All right, we're talking about what we've learned on this Friday, what we've learned from this week. I'll tell you another thing that I've learned from the Hornets. I think Steve Clifford might be done pretending like he's been cool with playing the rookies this much. Yeah. Right? He joked about it after the Milwaukee game. Here's what he said after that Milwaukee game.
Come on now, you guys always kill me. I don't play young guys, I'm playing them. No, you don't, but I mean, that's the big thing. No, I mean, I see the same thing. I mean,
And then he said, I don't play rookies, I'm playing them. He seemed anxious.
Shout out to our buddy Rick Bonnell for the biggest laugh, and the first and the biggest.
He seemed Coach Clifford seemed anxious before Boston about getting MKG and Batum back into the lineup and playing big minutes. Here's what he said before that game against the Celtics.
We got to get to our groups, and I don't know how many minutes he'll be able to play, but you know what? We're 11 games in. Those guys are here, and obviously we won't be able to get to the normal rotations here. It'll take some time, but it's at the end of the day, it's what we're doing anyway. You know what I mean? We're just we're just making our way until they get back. So when they get back, they're going to start, and then we'll get to our playing groups that way.
Making our way
Cliff,
in the world
Rick Bonnell here, Cliff. Just wanted to pop in with that was a great answer. How did you get so hilarious? All right, I'm out of here.
Making our way in the world today takes everything we got.
Sometimes you wanna go.
Fun Friday!
After last night, he was not beating around the bush anymore about this subject.
Again, we subbed less tonight. That's why we played better. Played our better plays. We played our older guys more minutes, and we're going to do that here now. We get these guys back. We got to get to groups, and we got to play the guys who have been playing better. And this isn't the time for guys to grow. They either got to be ready to play or they're not. And so we're going to be sub more like this and practice less because we got to get our team game going. And it's nobody's fault. We've had obviously injuries, poor health, but to find out what we need to do to get better, we got to get our older guys out there on the floor.
There you go. There's Steve Clifford, and by last night I meant, of course, Wednesday night. And he's just blunt. He's saying, look, this stretch that they've got coming up, gentlemen, is going to be very, very difficult. And the time for learning is over. And I think he's making references to both Malik Monk and Dwayne Bacon there.
For sure. I love it. He's like our older. I mean, our better. I mean the guys I like. I mean the guys that I don't want to play. Yeah, I mean, it's clear. I mean, Wood, Monk, and Bacon had a combined about 18, 19 minutes the other night. So once you get Batum back in there, you got Batum, you got Lamb, you got MKG. So there's only so many minutes to go around, but those are the guys he's going to play. And just the guys he's going to trust. That hasn't changed in Clifford just because, they drafted a couple guys that could play when they needed them to. I mean, it was good for them. It's good for them to get out there. They're fortunate to be able to throw those guys in. But when he falls back on it, you got to think those minutes are going to go down for both those guys.
And Daniel on the live chat saying if he's getting weary about the rookies playing big minutes, then why did MCW sit on Wednesday? Why put Monk out there as the backup point guard when Michael Carter-Williams is healthy? I think that's a valid question. I wonder if there was a sense from Clifford in that Cleveland game that they were going to need as much offense as they could get, because you're not going to – it's very difficult to contain the Cleveland offense. You really do have to go out there and try to outscore them. And I wonder if there was a little bit of that, but then, Monk shot the ball well early, did not shoot as well late, and by then it was probably too far gone to really make a change and get Michael Carter-Williams in there. Plus, Kemba played 39 minutes, so you've got that as well.
I mean, don't you guys think, just listening to those comments too, that they're still going to get their shots, right? Like he says they need to be ready. They need to be ready to go. It's not the time to learn. Like I could see Monk getting in there. He can get hot pretty fast. If he rolls off a couple buckets, he may give him a longer leash. And if foul trouble pops up, Bacon's going to have a chance to go in there and guard somebody every now and again. I mean, I guess there could be some DMPs in there too. They're not going to give them minutes, but do you guys still think he's going to give them a look? I mean, it's going to be situational, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Like he talks about not playing these guys, but then we mentioned that, Monk played over MCW, but Bacon played over Graham. So, and Graham's been Clifford's dude for the past, season and a half. So I don't know. I mean, they might play a little bit, but clearly the roles are going to be reduced. In all honesty, probably right now it's a good thing. They do need to play at some point because we need to see some kind of development, or hopefully. But I understand his thinking. They're kind of it's not like being said right now, but you have a GM who wants a contract extension. You have a coach who would like to probably stick around. If they're not winning, that's not going to help their cases moving forward.
All right, let's move on. What anyone else? Anyone else got anything they learned this week from the Hornets, the NBA? I learned that Joel Embiid is, Eastern Conference is funny because you've got Joel Embiid playing extremely well right now. You've got Kristaps Porzingis playing well right now. It looks like the Eastern Conference is in a great position in terms of having superstars ready to go. But at the same time, both Kristaps and Joel Embiid have injury concerns. So it feels like the Eastern Conference has this mighty castle that's built on sand right now that could collapse at any moment.
I learned that the East is looking. It's going to be really good a lot sooner than people anticipated. It's been bad for so long. Even if you go back to whenever the Jordan era stopped, the Bulls Jordan era stopped. I mean, pretty much since then it's been out west. It's been the powers, except for obviously the Heat years. Dude, there are so many good young guys out here. Giannis and Kristaps look insane, and Embiid. Those are the three. If you had to pick the three best futures, you'd have to go with them. And so far, they've all been relatively healthy this season. Correct? I know Embiid's on a restriction, and
Kristaps is dealing with an elbow injury. But yes, I'm
they're
saying
too sharp.
I think there are still future concerns with big men with feet issues. So, are you okay, Nick? Are we boring you?
No. Like I said, I woke up 10 minutes before the podcast, so that's more so sleep deprivation.
Hey, while I got my boys here and we're talking general NBA, let me throw this one out to you. Serious question: would you, if you were the Cavs and the Rockets, would you trade that lottery pick for Chris Paul straight up? That would be a good trade.
Well, I don't think why would the Rockets? They haven't even seen what their potential is with Chris Paul. Why would they do that?
Because the only place they can go is down with him. They're playing amazing. Did you see the game Harden had last night?
Yeah, but that's
Harden
against
did something
Phoenix.
that hasn't been done.
That's against Phoenix. That's
Harden
in the regular season. They need Chris Paul they want Chris Paul to get them over the hump and competing with Golden State. That's why you don't care about having Chris Paul in the regular season. You care about having Chris Paul in the postseason.
Nick, give me some thoughts.
If the Cavs want to trade that lottery pick for MCW, I think that's.
Oh, there we go. That's good.
No, that makes sense. That just makes sense. All right.
Okay, let's talk about this Bulls game tonight for the Hornets. It's a chance for the Hornets to get off the schneid. Both teams come into this game desperate for a win, both on 5-game losing streaks. It's the something's gotta give matchup in Chicago. What do we know about the Bulls? Well, they are okay on defense, 8th in scoring defense on the year, but they are absolutely terrible on offense. They stink. They take a ton of three-point shots. They don't make a ton of them. 6th in the NBA in three-point frequency, 29th in three-point percentage. They cleared house, essentially. It's funny, even in their game notes, it lays it out. Like they in a nice kind of PR kind of way, saying, look, we cleared the decks. We're going young, looking towards the future. They get rid of Jimmy Butler. They get rid of Dwayne Wade. They get rid of Rajon Rondo. That experiment that anybody that knows anything about the NBA could have told them was not going to work out didn't work out. And they get rid of all three of those players. They draft Lauri Markkanen. They've got Robin Lopez, who's a great offensive rebounder. So it's a young team. They make a lot of mistakes. They hustle on defense, but they can't hit a shot to save their lives. This looks, on the surface, David, like a game that the Hornets should absolutely take care of.
Yeah, Nick said the other day that it was more about the Hornets than the Cavs, and I think that's totally true tonight. Like, as good as the Cavs can be, I guess, the Bulls are just as horrible. You mentioned it. They've won like 2 games, 2-10, I believe, on the season. So that's not great. But this is about the Hornets getting back to what they need to do to win throughout this season, right? They've got to rebound the ball better in the second unit. I don't know if that's going to be a thing that's possible. But they've got to stay locked in for this whole game and, put this team away. They're playing on the road. I don't know what the crowd is going to be like in Chicago, but it's a Friday night. If they let them get in it, I guess they could. They've got to be professional about this game and play to win and stay locked in for the whole game. That's something we have not seen, it seems like, in forever from the Hornets. So they need to get back to playing good defense and executing when they can. This is a game they should win.
The Bulls are notorious this season for getting off to bad first quarter starts. And the Hornets have been starting games well. So you could see another double-digit deficit going in to the fourth quarter. Nick, if they give up a lead in the fourth quarter, a double-digit lead like they did in Boston, like they did in New York, if they do that again in Chicago and lose a 6th straight game, do you see some possible shakeups in this lineup?
Yeah, I think I've been kind of preaching patience, during this stretch because even no one wants to lose 5 straight games, but losing to the Cavs isn't necessarily a bad loss. This, even though I wouldn't say it's a must-win game, it's a should-win game. So if they manage to blow this one, I don't know what kind of shakeups they could make, but it's clearly going to be, you want to put all the sirens on, you want to throw the klaxons on, whatever it is. They all need to be going. This is a game that should take care of itself. They should get back on the right track. Whether it makes a difference long term is unsure. But, losing this would not be ideal and would certainly, my point about all the bad takes coming out, maybe they would get some validity.
Lauri Markkanen has gotten off to a better start than I thought he would. I was very down on Markkanen in our draft talk, but he has played better on defense than I think a lot of people gave him credit for. He's a 7-footer playing power forward. Will present a challenge for Marvin Williams at times. And luckily, MKG will be guarding Paul Zipser, who is having an absolutely horrendous start from the field. It's going to be a nice game for MKG. He's been having to guard. He's guarded Kyrie, he's guarded LeBron, he's guarded, so many of these stuff, or he was going to guard Kyrie before Kyrie got injured, but he's had to take so many tough matchups over the past couple of games that this will be a nice reprieve for him heading into this one, playing against Paul Zipser, who is just his points per shot attempt, I think, is in like the 5th percentile. I mean, he's not playing well.
The problem with the Bulls is that somebody on their team is their best player, and there's just no way of knowing who that guy is, or who's on their team.
It's probably Markkanen at this point.
There's no way to know. There's just no way. So you got to watch out for that. They have NBA players, so I've heard. They are rough. If we got to put these guys away, especially, I mean, come on, MJ's going to be sitting over there.
And Bobby Portis Jr. has returned for the Bulls, giving them a little bit more depth.
Giving a little punch off the
Giving them a little punch, yeah, and that's good.
That was a pun about him being violent with his teammate.
I was reading NBA Reddit, and they were doing the classic like creative tank chants, like, you know, fall for ball, that kind of thing.
Right.
So they were doing them for the Chicago Bulls. We've got set a season low in a quarter for Porter, because they set a season low. They set
wordy.
They set a season low for a quarter at 8, and then followed it up with a season low for a quarter of 7. So I think a key to this game for the Hornets, get in there and hold them to 6 for a quarter. Yeah. I think you win the game. Play badly for Bagley.
I was going to say, I hope your points per possessions sagly for Bagley.
Punch Mirotic for Doncic.
That's a good one. I like it because the Mirotic Doncic thing. Is Doncic also
Portis,
a foreign guy?
Yes.
I was going to try to guess that.
Portis not only knocked Mirotic out, like literally, but also knocked him out of the starting lineup, because Markkanen now going to be the starting 4 for the Bulls going forward.
Yeah.
You know, this is kind of off topic. We talk about stuff I learned this week. When I was trying to figure out why MCW didn't play, I was trying to see if there was a injury. So I did a search on Twitter, and there's a running joke going on that LeVar Ball,
LiAngelo, there are a lot of them. LiAngelo Ball,
no.
Lonzo Ball, Lucille Ball.
Sorry, Lonzo Ball. The joke is that Lonzo Ball is just Michael Carter Williams with the annoying dad.
Oh yeah, I did see. You know, because I went searching for some Michael Carter Williams news yesterday on Twitter, and that's it comes up 1,000 times.
Yeah,
it's a running meme.
The saddest part about that meme is I'm like, oh, all right, MCW.
Yeah,
hey, not so bad. It's getting compared to. He's the butt of a Lonzo Ball joke. All right.
Got a lot of people in the chat right now with the same feeling as Daniel, saying games that traditionally feel like must-wins the past few years turn out to be trap games. I'll be holding my breath until the fourth quarter ends. And I think that's how a lot of fans feel right now about the Charlotte Hornets, is that no lead is safe, no fourth quarter lead is safe. And that's frustrating, because that was the story so often last season. And you have to wonder when that tide will turn for the franchise. And I know a lot of people are hoping that Nick Batum's return. It's so tough, because they went into this season thinking, okay, we've brought Dwight Howard in, and that's going to give us a physicality underneath the rim and take some attention away from Kemba Walker. Nick Batum and Dwight Howard will develop a relationship in the pick and roll, and we can start to separate ourselves. And when we get those fourth quarter leads, we'll be able to hold on to them defensively. And they just haven't been healthy enough to do that. And it feels like it's struck at their confidence, at the core confidence of this team, David.
Yeah, make sure. Just ask me what they could do to change that, Doug. I just want to get this on tape.
Okay, what do you think they could do to turn around their confidence at this point as a team?
Did you hear that?
I did.
Okay, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a mystery, like you said, Doug, because look at the names they have coming off the bench. I mean, they said it the other night during the broadcast. If you got Lamb, you've got Zeller, and you've got Kaminsky, and that should be the buildings of a pretty good bench at this point, and it just has not played up to that. I think Frank's got to get back to hitting some threes from the outside, but they've got to find themselves, and I don't know how much of this do you guys lay on Clifford? I mean, everyone's getting some heat right now. And Doug, you were calling for like changes if something bad goes. I mean, I don't think you were getting it, staff changes, but geez, I mean, people are going to start to get pretty restless if they somehow let this game get away.
No, I was more talking about changes to give this second unit a little more punch. Because they can't play their full bench in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, at the beginning of the fourth. They get killed.
Yeah,
and it's because teams know they know that they can survive the first three quarters versus the Hornets, and then turn up the defense on the second unit at the beginning of the fourth and be okay. Cole wants to know on the chat, what did we all think about Nick's first game back? We'll go around the table here. Steve, what did you think about Nick's first game back?
It's great. He looked good. I mean,
cool.
I don't know.
Hey, ask me that. No,
hey, David, what did you think about Nick's first game back? Oh my God.
I thought it was fantastic. But go ahead, Steve.
I thought it was fantastic, and I'm gonna toss it. No, I'm just kidding. I did think it was pretty cool, guys, that Batum came back in. Surprising. It was really surprising, and I don't know. You guys got takes on this. We all know that it was his first game back, so I'm gonna go with a little outside of the box. Loved him in the classic uni. Those guys looked great out there. I didn't get to comment on this yesterday. I mean, the coolest thing was on TV, I'm seeing Marvin run around out there. I'm like, who's that? LJ, number 2. I see a little Monk. He's a little bit bigger than Muggsy. No confusion there. But Batum looked nice, man. I like the sleeve. I'm going all aesthetic here. He just looked cool.
Zeller looked like he should have been at a music festival.
Zeller looks like your dad bought, a jersey and got out there. Hey guys, I'm running with the boys. Yeah, he looked out of place. He had the dad like leg sleeve, the YMCA like knee sleeve on. Like, did not look like an official knee brace in any way.
Yeah.
He just looked like he smelled of Icy Hot.
David, what did you think about Nick's performance on the court?
Started off super strong, man. Even on defense, got a couple of those early steals, got that sweet steal on the inbounds pass and the lay-in, and was aggressive. I mean, he had a couple dunk shots early on. I thought the elbow might like fly off or break, but he looked good, Doug. I do think he wore down towards the end of that game. I mean, he was pretty gassed at the end. I think we were all a little surprised he played the amount of minutes he did, just given what we knew going into that game. Played 30 minutes. So that's what he's going to have to play, obviously. First game back, though, I think he just struggled going down the stretch. Missed a couple of those open shots. And did have those 2 Batum-esque turnovers, one that led to a LeBron highlight and another one that was just a little bit of a careless pass. But I just think that's kind of what you can get with Nick. But they need all the good stuff. I mean, all the good stuff he brings, all the creation on offense. You saw the easy baskets were there more so than they have been. And he created some of those with his defense and I think just being on that offense too. So that's going to help. I do think we have to keep that in mind, right?
Yeah, 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. That shot's going to have to come around because he did not shoot it very efficiently last season. Going to need Nick's offense from beyond the arc to help the Hornets right now because we talked about the Bulls not being able to hit three-point shots. That's been a problem for the Hornets, especially over this 5-game losing streak. They really, in this 5-game losing streak, their offense has been good by the numbers, but they have to shoot the ball better. And especially in the second half, I laid out the stat in the last show, 28th in the league in second half three-point field goal percentage. That's just not going to cut it. When teams turn up their own offense, the Hornets have had trouble responding by hitting open three-point shots, and that's across the board. Kemba Walker, Jeremy Lamb, guys that have been shooting traditionally well from the three-point line, have not been able to. Knicks has to improve on that as well. I'm not as concerned with the turnovers late in the game. I think it's something that he was focused on improving in the offseason. He mentioned it after the game. Felt like that was a mixture of fatigue, because those both happened late in the game, a game that he played 32 minutes. Yeah, pushing. And also, again, we go back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Zeller and Howard cut to the rim differently, and Batum has not had a ton of time to really practice that with Dwight because, all these practices that he's been in, he only had 1 or 2 practices where he was really playing like full contact. So hasn't had a ton of time to develop that relationship with Dwight Howard, find out how he moves to the rim off those pick and roll opportunities. So all of that's going to improve. I'm not worried about Nick Batum. I thought it was good to see him in the first half being aggressive and playing well with the bench unit. It's going to be so key. It was really, to me, was the difference in the second unit in the first half of the game and how they performed in the latter half of the game is that they had to depend on others to make things happen offensively, and it wasn't happening for that second unit. Okay, we're going to wrap things up. Accidentally hit that drop. We're going to wrap things up with a segment from Steve Bob that we're calling That Belongs in a Museum.
That belongs in a museum.
So do you.
All right, Steve Bob is playing the role of Indiana Jones or Carolina Jones, maybe? Anyhow, you've brought some Hornets history for us.
I'm playing the role of Indiana Jones, classic basketball Charlotte Hornets guy.
What do you have there in your hand?
It doesn't have to be Indiana Jones. Just pointing that out.
It doesn't have to be?
It shouldn't be, is what I should have said.
Well, do you have something against Indiana Jones? You don't want to be Indiana Jones?
I was thinking there for a second. I do not. I thought maybe for a second he was one of the thousands of problematic Hollywood males today, but
no, I think he's
one of the good
generally
ones.
Regarded as a good guy.
He does wear that weird earring. I'll say that old man earring. Him and MJ.
All right, what you got for us?
All right, did you take a screenshot of this or not? This guy.
I did, but I didn't put it in the show.
It's great. We're running full steam here. We got a November 7th, 1988 issue of Sports Illustrated here, featuring the mailman Karl Malone on that. Almost, how many years to the date is that? You do that. Somebody shout out in the comments.
What year is it?
November 7th.
Hit the nerd drop.
1988. Thank you. See, that's why I didn't know how many years ago, 1988 was.
This is so on brand for you.
Thank you. All right, this is a segment of this is called Not in Charlotte. It's about George Shinn, the owner of the Hornets and a man of deep religious convictions, instructed Coach Dick Harder and his assistants, these other guys, to curtail swearing on the bench this season. Shinn also wonders if Harder could ask the players to do the same. So he says he doesn't want the players to curse at all. That was George Shinn's big thing.
That was his initiative for the team.
No cursing on the bench. And he gives the reason why. He goes, we're in the Bible Belt down here, and I'm trying to sell tickets. He just basically admits, it's not a personal conviction in any way.
No.
He even goes as far as to say...
That man liked money.
He loved money, and he loved exploiting people. He's like, what do you guys like? The Lord? Okay, cool. Well, we're going to go with that. We're going to call this the Charlotte Apostles. And 12-man roster? No way. We got the 12 apostles here, okay?
That'd be tough. That'd be tough, too.
We're only going to draft white guys named Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. And
or Paul.
Sometimes Paul, like a vowel. You got to throw him on there at the end.
Jack's a little confused about what was the name of that coach, the first coach for the Charlotte Hornets?
I will tell you because
enunciate it.
I know. I will tell you this because he goes, look, we're all human beings, and I'm not going to expect anything unreasonable. I'm not saying that if Dick says one 4-letter word, well, buddy, you just said one 4-letter word. Exactly. It's Dick.
You did. That's a fine. That's $1. Put $1 in the jar.
I mean, amazing name, Dick Harder. You got
Harder.
Dick Harder. Dick Harder. If your name is Dick Harder, you gotta go with Richard. Give it a rip harder. You can't go. Don't go with Dick, man.
That policy would be tough to employ now on any bench, but especially Charlotte. Steve Clifford not afraid to express himself on the bench.
That's a great point. I would have loved to have George Shinn say that to Steve Clifford. He'd just be like, F you, man. F you, F you. The article ends.
Harder.
The article ends with it also including that George Shinn didn't want any players to have any facial hair whatsoever. And
the Yankees policy.
The Yankees policy, again, that was somehow...
But they didn't do it.
Yeah, because it's retarded. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
It's ridiculous.
Put that out.
Well, in 1988, that word was acceptable, so I'll stand by that. Back then, let's see. Yeah, no facial hair dictum, And then for some reason it ends with talking about the jersey design. But this was a classic article about George Shin, a man of strong religious conviction who was ran out of 2 basketball towns for being a POS.
That has been this edition of That Belongs in a Museum. Thank you, Steve Bob. We appreciate it. And we appreciate everyone listening to us and watching us this week. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Locked On Hornets and following along with all of the Locked On Podcast Network podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, whatever you use to get your podcast. Just search Locked On Hornets. Shoot us your Hornets questions and thoughts to buzz at lockedonhornets.com. Visit our merch store on tpublic.com to get your Buzzamania shirt. Just go to tpublic.com, search for Locked On Hornets. We're back again next week with more analysis of this weekend's action. Bulls and Clippers games this weekend. We'll wrap it up all for you on Monday. For David and the rest of the crew here on Locked On Hornets, I'm Doug. Go Hornets, go America. Let's swarm Charlotte.